Hey everyone, it's great to see you again and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Celeste, developed by Maddie Makes Games, or now known as Extremely OK Games. And this copy of the game is the Fangamer version. It recently came out within the last handful of months, and it's a pretty nice little fan release. Got the nice disc, and inside here, a couple little cool additions for us to check out. And so here is a small little poster, and I quite like the poster art. It's a little different from what you experience in the game, so I'll show that one more time. And so that was a nice little addition, and they have a code here for buying some plushies and posters and things on Fangamer's site, and this nice little hiking guide, so to speak. And the hiking guide has some cool things in it. You can learn a little bit about the characters who you'll meet along the way, or if you want to, how to make a strawberry pie. And I quite like this. I kind of flipped through it, and it's got some really nice kind of concept art all around, just a bit about Celeste and, you know, the game overall. I picked this up recently because this type of game, I feel like, is often very represented on kind of PC and things like that. But us console gamers, we like platformers as well. And while I could get this digitally for some time, I did want a physical release. And the original one that had come out was kind of hard to track down. And if you could, it was for quite a bit of money. So when I saw this new release on the horizon, I decided, well, I should probably finally buy Celeste, check the game out, see what it's all about. And so I've beaten it and would like to talk a little bit about it with you here today. So kind of the background on this game, it is developed by Maddie Thorson and Noel Berry, and they are two developers, I think, in the Toronto area. They'd come up with this idea for the game after doing a little coding jam session for Pico 8, which is a kind of virtual console used to develop and build 8-bit games. So games that are pretty limited on their visuals, their audio, and their experience. And the concept game they'd come up with was about a character climbing a mountain. And they enjoyed the puzzles and the design so much, they said, we can turn this into a whole experience. And so that's where the idea for Celeste was born. And, you know, the director of the game, Maddie, they're a very interesting person. They, their mother bought them Game Maker when they were young, and so they were developing games all throughout high school and college, and thought, well, with my computer science background, I'll go on to work at a big developing studio or something. But decided, hey, I can strike this out on my own and make games. And so they had sold a number of indie games and published some games with Adult Swim at some point for their site. And then went on to make Towerfall, which was a timed exclusive, I believe, for the Ouya. So I don't know if how successful that version of the game was. And Towerfall Ascension would later come to be released as well. And then moved on to this little Pico 8 project, and ultimately Celeste. So Maddie's very interesting from the lens of, has a lot of experience in the gaming industry and in the indie development space. And so it was cool to kind of, support a developer with that background and their successes and what they're doing. So yeah, a lot of praise there. Celeste went on to praise as well, universal acclaim even, with it being well reviewed, selling incredibly well, and building a community of speedrunners and people who are very into the game to this day. The story of this game, you play as a trans woman named Madeline. Madeline is on a mission to climb a mountain. And this mountain is, I think, in my mind, an allegory for kind of these feelings of facing yourself and trials and tribulations of accepting who you are. Just and Madeline will experience and talk about things throughout the game, such as her afflictions with anxiety or depression. And these are represented in the forms of her interactions with other characters. So there's Granny, who I find Granny to be funny because she's basically just always laughing at Madeline throughout the experience and giving the opportunity for Madeline to kind of have a smart aleck response or whatnot. And then there's Theo, who's kind of the social media obsessive guy who's on the journey as well to climb this mountain, who kind of faces their own demons along the way. And Madeline's interactions with the ghostly hotel owner, Oshido, really say a lot about her. But the biggest character is Madeline, who is kind of this alter ego of Madeline, somebody who is telling Madeline to stop climbing the mountain and trying to reconcile with her that this is an impossible task and to be pragmatic. And the fact that the mountain is an allegory for this acceptance of yourself is really interesting, because towards the end there will become a need for Madeline and Madeline to really marry their personalities in order to overcome and get to the peak. And so the story is very interesting, and to my understanding it's spoken to a lot of people who kind of go through those experiences and means a lot to them. And I thought it was also very enjoyable to kind of be along for that journey and that ride and see Madeline as a character and everything that I've done as the player, help her climb the mountain to kind of have that experience. And so from a story lens, I thought the game was very fulfilling and enjoyable, and it's one that I think a lot of people can get a lot out of, which is really cool. But a big aspect to this game is, of course, the gameplay, and especially being a 2D platformer, there are a lot of little intricacies that need to be considered that I think Maddie Makes Games and the development team got right along the way. So at basic controls, Madeline can run around, jump, can dash in midair, can grab and climb walls, and these are kind of your core skills. And then there's a variety of levels you'll play throughout the game, and each level kind of presents, I would call it a modifier to your basic skills and the experience of using those. So such as you might be in a level where there's an extreme wind that's pushing you backwards slowly if you're not moving forward and kind of going against it. Or you might be in a level where you jump and inside a bubble you can then get launched somewhere else, which will help you continue on through the level. And at its core, you're going from screen to screen, doing platforming puzzles and challenges and collecting optional objects along the way, such as strawberries, which are really fun, generally optional, and you'll find yourself in screen puzzles where you get to solve a challenge or whatnot to get it, or the very difficult to find crystal hearts and B-side tapes. I think just playing the game through, enjoying the story and just the experience of it, I found maybe one, and maybe a couple B-side tapes, but that was very difficult. One of the things that frustrated me about the navigation of this world, where you're going from screen to screen, is that I was trying to explore every nook and cranny, and the way I usually do that is I'll go in one direction a little bit, I'll see what's that way, and I'll get a feeler for, oh, this seems like the main direction you want to go in the game. So then I'd go back and then I'd explore another direction. But there are a number of points in this game where you get cut off and then you can't proceed back down, or you can't proceed to an area you just came from. And so that was kind of frustrating. Now, the development team combats that by giving you the option to go back and play chapters at any point, and also at a number of very accessible checkpoints. And so you don't lose too much progress if you wanted to explore around, though there are so many of those little nook and crannies, you're not going to get everything, and you are going to have to replay it to have that kind of complete collection experience. But overall, did enjoy these aspects of the game. I felt the game was very difficult at certain points. It gets hard, especially towards the final few chapters. A great example is there is a challenge where lava is rising and you're trying to climb up to escape the lava, and some of the sections and screens in there are so insane. I did them maybe 40, 50 times just to get through. And feeling as if I'm someone who's proficient enough at platformers, I wouldn't be the only one, I would assume, to say that that is quite a challenging experience at points. But it is fun to overcome, and I think that is part of the allegory of the game, is that by getting through these screens and these platforming puzzles and challenges, you're overcoming along the way, as Madison is. And so it really speaks to me as somebody who is also a big fan and enjoys From Software games, and kind of grew up with those, and that concept of make something particularly challenging but accessible to players to overcome and accomplish. And if it is difficult, again, the development team has added accessibility options for players to have maybe unlimited dashing or invincibility to help them complete these challenges. And I stayed away from those because I really wanted to get that core experience, though at points it was frustrating, because I think that really gave me fulfillment. It's exciting to know that for folks who need those items, they can get that fulfillment as well at the level of challenge that they're ultimately looking for. The music in this game I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did. It's a beautiful electronic-y vibe, and each level has its own sounds and songs, and I really enjoyed it. So shout out to the composer, Lena Rain, I think is their name. I think they did very cool work here, and it's a soundtrack that you can honestly listen to without even having the game on, or without even experiencing at the same time. And another big thing is that when I was growing up, the development of graphics was a big core part of every new generation. So you got the 8-bit, 16, 32, ultimately polygonal 3D models, and then into this world of realism, which I think come about the PS3, Xbox 360 era, you begin to see that, okay, well, maybe realism isn't the best, because then you end up with gray-brown gaming experiences with no visual fidelity or anything colorful or interesting to look at. Celeste doesn't fail or fall into that category. The game is so colorful, the pixel art is very cool, and as somebody who fell to that earlier prescription, it's really given me an enjoyment for pixel art in a way I didn't know I had. And so from that lens, a very exciting and fun game. So just to kind of summarize the story, I really appreciated the story. I thought it was enjoyable, and the game has a nice kind of 6 to 10 hour runtime, depending on how many retries you're going to need on some of these areas. And I thought it was, so from that lens, that it was a perfect length. The gameplay is very tight, very fun, and when you fail, it's really, you failed. The control is so precise to what you're doing, and I found that to be, and always is, a very important aspect of playing a platforming game. Could be frustrating, though, from a difficulty lens, and also I want to collect things, but now I can't go back and collect them because the game's cut me off from that option. But overall, aesthetically, the game is still saved from its beautiful music and its incredible pixel art. And so overall, I think you get a really great package and experience here. If you're like me, you'll finish the main story, you'll maybe go back and collect a few things you wanted to get, and then you'll go to play some of the additional content and realize, wow, this is a step above, and it might just be too much for me. And that's where I kind of left it when I got into the farewell and I started some of that extra content. It was just too difficult at times for me to proceed. But from the lens of putting this on, playing through the game, and enjoying it, it's fantastic, and I think that any typical person should pick it up and give it a try. So those are all my thoughts. Did you play Celeste? What do you think about Celeste? What do you think about the story? Did it hit you the same way? Did you like the gameplay, or was it too difficult? Let me know. Curious to know. And if you liked the video, please like the video, and hope you subscribe and stick around for more to talk through some of the fun games I'm playing. But until then, appreciate you tuning in, and look forward to seeing you next time. All right, take care.